Hola! Welcome back to another episode of All Ball Media. Happy Cesar Chavez Day. Today is March 31st. It's been a minute since we've been on, but hell of some sports and events that have been also popping off. We'll definitely be diving into a little update on the Valspar Championship because that was what we were updating you guys on last episode. And then we'll be giving you an update on how the Texas Children's Houston ended up going. We'll also be covering how those brackets are going for March Madness so far, down to the last few teams. Naturally, also shouting out how the season ended up going for the TGL, as well as a nice little update for the NBA, the NHL, a little NFL offseason, and sprinkling in a little bit more as well. Hope you enjoy. First on the agenda for today, naturally, we're talking golf. Last episode, we were introducing how things were going down in Palm Harbor, Florida for the Valspar Championship, and our boy Victor Hovland ended up taking home the win for that with a score of 11 under. In second, Justin Thomas with a score of 10 under, Jacob Bridgman with a score of 9 under at third. Tied for fourth, we had Bub Cauley, Billy Herschel, and Roy Hisatuni. All three had a score of 8 under. In seventh, Davis Riley. Tied for eighth, Seamus Power, Lucas Glover, the Canadian Corey Connors, Shane Lowry, and then just a couple of other notable names. Tommy Fleetwood was also in the mix with a score of 4 under. Nico Echevarria, 4 under. Emiliano Grillo with the 4 of 3 under. But yeah, that's how things were concluded at the Valspar. Next, we had the Texas Children's Houston Open. The big thing is, when they do end up heading back to Texas, at least the last couple years, Scottie Scheffler is from Texas, so typically Scottie Scheffler does perform consistently well on these home treks of Texas, if you will. He did not win, though. The winner of the Texas Children's Houston Open was Min Woo Lee. Congratulations to the young Australian winning his first PGA Tour event. And in second place, we had Scottie Scheffler and Gary Woodland tied with the score of 19 under. Min Woo won with the score of 20 under. We had the Finnish gentleman Sami Välimäki in fourth with a score of 17 under. In fifth, we had Wyndham Clark, Rory McIlroy, and Taylor Pendrith, as well as Alejandro Tosti, the Argentinian. They all four were tied with a score of 15 under. And then some other notable names, Ryan Gerard, Mackenzie Hughes, Rico Hoy, Lee Hodges, some other names, Joel Damon, 10 under, Jason Day, 9 under, Jake Knapp, 9 under, Tony Finau, 8 under, and then Ricky finished with the score of 5 under. Shout out Ricky, way to perform. That's all we have for you for today, at least an update on golf that has already happened. The next event we have will still be in Texas, but they'll be in San Antonio at the Valero Texas Open. So naturally, we'll be throwing a little bit more introduction into that. And then the Valero Open is the last tour event before the Masters. April is just around the corner, so you know those flowers, those azaleas, that course. Did you guys know they paint the grass green if it's not green? Interesting. I learned that. As far as your golf update, that's all we got. Moving on, we'll be updating you on the TGL. Moving on, we have the update for you on how things wrapped up for the TGL. Last week, we only needed 2 matches. Atlanta played New York naturally. On Monday, Atlanta won 6-5. It was a close one. And then on Tuesday, Atlanta ended up taking home the win and the first chance of lifting the SoFi Cup with a win over New York of 4-3. It was a close one. They were pushed, and then the hammers were involved pretty often. I do think it's good to see how they kind of change things throughout the year with the use of the hammer, especially because it's a little bit more intense in the point value for the holes, naturally. We had a really good, really close one. It was consistently tie pretty much through the trips, and then a couple pushes here and there, but the hammers made the difference in the long run. So congratulations to Justin Thomas, Billy Herschel, Patrick Cantley, and Lucas Glover on those 4 gentlemen in the team for Atlanta. It was a very interesting year, to say the least, to see how things went with the inaugurational, if that's the word, season for the TGL. Very similar to the Unrivaled. We'll see if they end up introducing more clubs or if we have more player introductions, just because naturally the PGA field is so large, and it's pretty much, I feel like they can pick and choose who they want to compete in these kind of leagues outside of the main ones. So it's definitely ran by the players for the players, so they're going to have the last say in who they kind of want to play with, because there's definitely a good handful, at least, of golfers that, for whatever reason, people don't care for, or maybe just style of play or just attitude-wise. So might not be seeing too much of those characters in the league, but it might spice things up a little bit. I mean, it would be hilarious to have like a special guest team of like maybe some veterans. You could do like a Gary Players, John Daly. You could even do the Shaq if you really want. And then shoot, who else could you throw in there for the 4th? I mean, Justin Thomas's dad's always consistent at that tournament that him and his dad do. So I mean, hell, just pick some people and just make it a pretty entertaining round. Naturally, they're going to stay consistent with how the style and the holes are played, but it'd be nice to see if we can throw a little bit of a wrench in the season next year to see if we can just mix things up a little bit. But I think the season fared a success, good amount of viewership. Like I said, I think they did a really good overall job. I'd just like to see, intriguingly, what they can do different in the future to see how we can expand this league of golf outside of the traditional way that golf is played. So I hope you tuned in. It was a really cool season. Now we're onward to the majors for golf, so keep an eye out for the Masters here in about 2 weeks. We'll be giving a nice update on that. On to the next. College basketball. Still balling like March Madness. Here we go. We are down to the Final Four for the men's, and we will be finding out who the Final Four is for the women's this evening. We do have 4 number 1 seeds in the Final Four. Auburn will be playing Florida April 5th, and Duke will be playing Houston April 5th as well for those games. As far as an overview for how things went, nothing too crazy in the upset department. Naturally, no Cinderella stories this year. It would have been cool. We had a couple of possible storylines. Arkansas was probably the closest one. That was a really good game if you caught that one, that last Arkansas-Texas Tech game. And then naturally, Texas Tech went on and ended up losing to Florida. The other side of the bracket was pretty cool. Same thing. McNeese beat Clemson, and then they lost to Purdue, and then Purdue lost to Houston. And then if we go to the bottom side, UCLA beat Utah State, and then they lost to Tennessee. And then Tennessee beat Kentucky, who had beat Illinois. And then Tennessee lost to Houston, the number 1 seed. Top left of the bracket, Auburn beat Creighton, and then they beat Michigan, and then they beat Michigan State, which kind of broke my heart. Michigan State beat New Mexico, and then they beat Ole Miss, who had beat Iowa State, and then they lost to Auburn. Auburn's been on a heater. That Johnny, he's been on super hot fire. And if we go to the other side of the bracket, Duke beat Mount St. Mary's, and then they went on to beat Baylor, who beat Mississippi State, and then they also went on to beat Arizona, who beat Oregon, and then they went on to beat Alabama. Cooper Flag is a dog. Definitely think The ankle was personally going to be a bigger issue than it is, but I think they rested it enough. They made sure he's been on top of it. It's looked pretty good because he's been looking very consistent throughout the tournament. Other than that first game where I think he played his minimum minutes, the kid's been showing out. They went on to beat Alabama, and they will be playing Houston. So yeah, the madness is still not over. We do have a couple of days here. I think it's next Sunday, this upcoming Sunday, so I'm pretty sure if I counted right. If not, it's April 5th. But that's how things are looking on the men's side. On to the women's. Women's. W. Women's side of the bracket. Very similar to the men's. As of right now, we have 2 number 1 seeds, and believe it or not, we have a number 1 playing a number 2 for both of the games this evening. USC number 1 is playing UConn, ranked number 2. I did also want to mention, if you haven't seen or heard, Juju Watkins did tear her ACL their last game. Their win was over Kansas State without her. If I am correct, she tore her ACL the game against Mississippi State. So that's tough. P's and Q's, sending healing prayers out to Juju. As far as how things went on that side of the bracket, kind of breaking it down like the men's, USC beat Mississippi State, who beat Cal in the first round, and then they went on to beat Kansas State in the Sweet 16. Kansas State beat Kentucky in the second round. And then how we got UConn in the final Elite 8, I should say. They beat South Dakota State. South Dakota State beat Oklahoma State, though. I told y'all to watch out for the Jackrabbits in the first round. They did get wiped 57-91 by UConn in the second round, but that's not the story. The story is, all I said was they're going to win in the first round. And then UConn beat them. They went on to also beat Oklahoma, who beat Iowa in the second round. So that's how we have UConn and USC playing this evening at 6 o'clock. On the other side of the bracket, Texas is playing TCU today, number 1 versus number 2 as well. Texas beat Illinois in the second round, who had beat Creighton in the first round, and then they went on to beat Tennessee in the Sweet 16 after Tennessee beat Ohio State in the second round. TCU's road, they beat Louisville in the second round, who beat Nebraska in the first round. And then they went on to beat Notre Dame. Shout out Notre Dame. That was also a really good game. Haley went off. She set a TCU tournament scoring record. I think she had 26 or 27 points. So shout out to Haley. She really found a nice place down there with the Bullfrogs of TCU. Yeah, Notre Dame beat Michigan in the second round, but then they went on to lose to TCU, and that's how we have Texas playing TCU. For the other sides of the bracket, UCLA beat Richmond in the second round. Ole Miss beat Baylor in the second round. UCLA went on to beat Ole Miss in the Sweet 16. And then we had LSU beat Florida State in the second round. NC State beat Michigan State in the second round. And then LSU beat NC State in the Sweet 16. UCLA has now gone on to have defeated LSU in the Elite 8. So that's how we have UCLA advancing into the Final Four as basically you could say the first number 1 seed, but they're really just one of the number 1 seeds out of the 4. On the other side of the bracket, South Carolina made their way on down to the Final Four, and the way that they accomplished that is they beat Indiana in the second round, and then they went on to beat Maryland in the Sweet 16. Maryland beat Alabama in the second round. Great game. They went to double overtime. That girl that Maryland has, I think her name is Saunders. Oh my gosh, she's a baller. She's going to watch out for her in the top 10 of the WNBA draft this year, because that team knows how to ball. Maryland gave them a really good battle in the Sweet 16. They went on to lose to South Carolina, who advanced to the Elite 8, and they beat Duke. The way that Duke got there, they beat Oregon in the second round, and then they beat UNC University of North Carolina in the Sweet 16. UNC beat West Virginia in the second round to go on to play Duke. They lost to Duke. So we had Duke play South Carolina in the Elite Eight. Duke went on to beat them 54-50. So that's how we have South Carolina solidify that 1 seed for their side of the bracket. So tonight we have USC versus UConn and Texas versus TCU. My leans are USC naturally. Fight on. Without Juju, on paper you wouldn't think so. But I'll tell you what, this off-season, USC got this transfer from Stanford, young Kiki, and Kiki is a baller. Kiki, if you watched last year, she had the young lady that the Sparks drafted. Her name escapes, Cameron Brink. Those two, big bodies. They just work the paint. Excellent shooting. Great basketball IQ. And I'll tell you what, I saw the stats and the numbers, and Kiki and the team are actually just a little bit more efficient when Juju actually isn't on the court. So naturally, as long as we can contend with Paige Buckets and the UConn Wolfpack, those Huskies are tough to beat. But if anybody could do it, I'd say USC is. I'll tell you what, though, the disrespect. They're giving USC 14.5 points right now. How you give them 14.5 points? It's not going to be that much of a wash. And I'll tell you what, if you feel that confident, which I do, just bet USC straight up. I think they're going to win. That's my lean for that game. Texas and TCU, that's a different monster. That's a Texas showdown. You get your popcorn butter or whatever else you put in it, because that's going to be a good one. They currently have the spread at 7.5, which I also think is rather large. The one thing is, I do believe Texas is just a big team. Those girls are pretty big, and they're dogs. The way that they played Tennessee was rather impeccable. The defense just continuously getting turnovers and turning them into shot opportunities. It's going to be a good one. So, naturally, I would lean Texas just for the size and the play. But the shooting efficiency that TCU has had has just been really ridiculous. So, that's going to be a really good one to watch. The Texas game starts earlier at 4 o'clock, and then the USC UConn is at 6 o'clock. So, keep an eye out for those games. But yeah, that's all we have for the women's. I don't believe there are any women's perfect brackets left. I'm checking right now because I know there isn't any more for the men's. The last one for the men's got busted because Illinois lost to Kentucky. There are currently no more perfect brackets for the women's either. So there you go. Who would have predicted for the men's it'd be the number ones? And for the women's, naturally, right now, it looks like that's kind of going to be the speed and pace of things as well. But I'll tell you what, as long as you got high seeds, you're naturally, hopefully, going to witness some pretty high quality basketball. These kids are pretty high valued right now. A lot of these cats are also just increasing their draft value with their efficiency of play. I saw that they've just been watching a lot more of these starting five cats, or even the cats coming off a bench and just consistently getting buckets. That's what they're watching, keeping an eye out for. Just knowing that you can stay efficient when the team needs you, because that's all it is in the league. Naturally, every team and coach has a game style and a game plan. So as long as you're perfected in your craft of the sport of basketball and efficient ways, that's how you get a nice up on your draft value. So good luck to the teams remaining. My last leans would be, I really like USC, but if USC doesn't win, UCLA is looking nice, man. I'll tell you what. They're looking good. And then if I had to lean for the men's, I would probably say Duke, because Cooper Flagg is going to win Rookie of the Year. I already won it out of the ACC, but it's been a minute since we had a Rookie of the Year win an actual natty, and probably be the first overall draft pick. So, good luck to those. I am very excited not for the bracket to be over, but for the games to have concluded, so that way we can start diving into another personal favorite of mine, which is these drafts. Just because a lot of these cats, just ball, man. That's all you gotta do. It's sick. It's awesome. They're really good at it, too. The transfer portal, though, that's something else. It's a whole nother issue we gotta resolve. Because there's too much. A lot of these cats are still balling, and they're entering the portal. So I don't know how the communication goes. It makes me think it's a little weird in the locker room if your boy says he kind of wants out of your school. But everybody has their reasons, so you can't blame them. But that's your college basketball update. Staying on the subject of basketball, we got the NBA to talk about. This weekend we had some pretty good games, pretty close ones. Lakers beat the Grizzlies 134-127. Austin Reeves had 31 points, and Desmond Bane had 29 points. Pretty good performances from the young lads. We had the Kings lose to the Magic 121-91. Wow. Banchero had 24, DeRozan had 21. Great outings for those lads. Did anyone else forget that Drew Timme got drafted by the Brooklyn Nets? Or I just assumed he stopped playing basketball. But he's still playing basketball. Good for him. The Nets beat the Wizards 115-112. The Heat beat the 76ers 118-95. Tyler Hero at 30. God damn, that boy's shooting the ball pretty well. And then the Mavericks had a close one with the Bulls 120-119. Dennis Spencer Dinwiddie with 14 points and 11 rebounds. And then the young fella Buzelis with 28 for the Bulls. We had the Pacers lose to the Thunder 132-111. Shea had 33 and Halibuty had 118. We also had the Celtics beat the Spurs 121-111. Jason Tatum almost had a triple-double, 29, 10, and 8. And then the young, I do believe it's Kevon or Kenyon Johnson, 23 points. Great outing for the lad. Solid games on Saturday. Moving on to Sunday. The Warriors spanked the Spurs 148-106. I should also mention, pretty sure Steph is back since his little hip contusion, so it's good to see them back. We'll see how they're running for this playoff spot here in a little bit. The Clippers had a close one with the Cavs, 127-122. The Cavs did beat them. The Knicks beat the Trailblazers 110-94. The young lad Avdija had 33 points for the Trailblazers, and OG Anunoby had 28 points for the Knicks. The Hawks beat the Bucks 145-124. The rookie, the Frenchman, Zachary, had 36 points. Giannis had 31 points. Great performances out of the lads. The Timberwolves beat the Pistons 123-104. And goddamn, I thought we watched a lot of hockey fights this year. But basketball just wanted to throw their little towel into the competition. There were 7 players ejected. Multiple players, possibly fines. I haven't seen the numbers yet, but that was a crazy one. It all started with Naz Reid going up for a shot, gets fouled. Then the young fella comes in his face, or he actually starts walking to the other dude's face. And then Dante DiVincenzo comes around. He's like, "What are you doing, bro? What are you doing?" He gets shoved, and then it all just melee's out of control. But yeah, it's not a great look for the Pistons. But so what? They're the bad boys. Still lost, but it was interesting. The Pelicans beat the Hornets 98-94. Ooh, not great numbers. The Raptors beat the 76ers 127-109. Ooh, RJ Barrett with 31. Good stuff, young lad. And then Lonnie Walker for the 76ers, 23 points. Good job, Lonnie. He's last year for the Lakers, or that year for the Lakers, man. Lonnie Walker was the man. And then we had the Rockets rock the Suns. It was close. They had about an 8-point lead, and then it went downhill, man. They were losing by like 20 at the most before the first half was even done. And then, to put some cherry on top, Kevin Durant goes and twists his ankle, so he's probably going to be out for a week, maybe, and some change. The only good thing to happen is Dillon Brooks got ejected, and he's going to miss a game. So, yeah, he's cool, I guess. But the top scorers for that game were the young lad Jalen Green with 33 points, and Devin Booker had 28 points. Today, this fine Monday, we have the Rockets playing the Lakers. That's why I said Dillon Brooks is out, so it sucks for you guys, but we're going to win. And then the Jazz are playing the Hornets, the Kings are playing the Pacers, the Clippers are playing the Magic, the Heat are playing the Wizards, the Celtics are playing the Grizzlies, the Bulls are playing the Thunder, and the Nets are playing the Mavericks. Oh my God, Drew Timme is the player to watch for. He's averaging 15 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 assists per game. That's insane. Who would have thought? Very interesting stuff. Wanted to sprinkle some stuff about the standings. Like we've been talking about. The East is pretty much solidified. Same kind of deal like we ran through last episode. Still, we got the Cavs in first, Celtics in second, Knicks in third, Pacers in fourth, Pistons in fifth, Bucks in sixth, and then the current teams for the play-in: Atlanta Hawks, Orlando Magic, Chicago Bulls, and Miami Heat. The last team that has technically not been eliminated from playoff contention is the Toronto Raptors with 28 wins and 46 losses. The next two teams are the Bulls and the Heat. They're tied at 33 and 41. I mean, anything's possible here. Miami went from their slump to now they are on a little bit of a 4-game win streak, as well as the Toronto Raptors. So if the Bulls fall into a little bit of a slump, they might end up taking a little bit of a back seat in this playoffs. But as of right now, it does look like those 10 teams in the East are going to be moving forward. And then for the West, we still got OKC in first, Houston Rockets in second, Denver Nuggets in third, LA Lakers in fourth, Memphis Grizzlies in fifth. The Golden State Warriors are holding strong at that sixth position. The Timberwolves are just behind them in that first playoff play-in game spot with 43 wins and 32 losses. The Warriors have 43 wins and 31 losses. The next closest team would be the Grizzlies with 44 and 30. So that 5, 6, 7, even you could say 8 spot with the Clippers at 44 and 32, those are not solid just yet. If you go on a slump right now, which totally could happen, you go from having that solid playoff spot to having to get a couple more games under your belt before you even see playoff contention. So we're on 6. Golden State Warriors, Minnesota Timberwolves are at 7, Clippers are at 8, Dallas Mavericks are at 9, and the Sacramento Suns are at 10. The next closest team, like we've been talking about, are the Phoenix Suns with 35 and 40. Sacramento's at 36 and 38. The Mavs are at 37-38 too, as well. The Trailblazers might sneak in there with 32 and 43 losses. They are on a 4-game losing streak, so we'll see. Same kind of thing. As close as that 5, 6, 7, 8 race is, the 9, 10 is even closer, because same thing. If Phoenix goes on a run right now, they could end up bumping one of those teams out. And then I don't see the Trailblazers really trying to sneak in. I think it's more if the Suns can make it or not. Yeah, I don't know if Dallas makes it. Do you really want them to make it, though? I mean, that's good for them and all, but, like, no Kyrie. AD's coming back. Derek Lively's coming back. But, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to watch them play basketball without Luka on the team. but don't get me wrong, I'd much rather still have Luka. But yeah, we'll see what ends up happening in the West. We just have I think we have like 2 more weeks of regular season games still, because we should start playoffs by the 15th or 16th of April. So that's your little basketball update. Moving on to some hockey. Slap shot, 5-hole goal, overtime win. Yes. Moving on to hockey. This weekend, pretty good games. A lot of games, actually, so we will go through them. The Maple Leafs beat the Kings 3-1. The Sabres lost to the Flyers 7-4. The Tampa Bay Lightning beat the New York Islanders 5-3. The St. Louis Blues beat the Colorado Avalanche 2-1. The New Jersey Devils beat the Minnesota Wild 5-2. The Las Vegas Golden Knights beat the Nashville Predators 3-1. The Ottawa Senators beat the Columbus Blue Jackets 3-2. The Red Wings of Detroit beat the Boston Bruins 2-1. The Oilers beat the Flames of Calgary in overtime 3-2. The Rangers of New York beat the Sharks of San Jose. Yeah, they're San Jose. And then the Dallas Stars went on to beat the Seattle Kraken 5-1. Those are Saturday's games. Moving on to Sunday. The Kings absolutely laid it on to the Sharks with an 8-1 win at home. The Montreal Canadiens beat the Panthers 4-2. Not the best. Thought the Panthers would have had that game, with them being the last Stanley Cup winners and all, but hey, you don't win all the games on the ice, baby. The Sabres beat the Capitals. Big win for the Sabres. 5-8. The Winnipeg Jets beat the Vancouver Canucks 3-1. Utah Hockey Club beat the Chicago Blackhawks 5-2. The Pittsburgh Penguins beat the Ottawa Senators in overtime 1-0. The Carolina Hurricanes beat the New York Islanders 6-4. The Toronto Maple Leafs beat the Anaheim Ducks 3-2. Today we have 4 games. Minnesota Wild are playing the New Jersey Devils in New Jersey, in Newark. Then we have the The Nashville Predators are playing the Philadelphia Flyers in Philadelphia. The Calgary Flames are playing the Colorado Avalanche. And the Dallas Stars are playing the Kraken, again, in Seattle. Those are your updates for today. Moving forward, tomorrow we have a pretty big slate, and some of them look pretty good. Some of them look bad enough that they might be interesting. We have the Jets playing the Kings. They're coming over to LA from Winnipeg. We have the Washington Capitals playing the Boston Bruins. The Florida Panthers are playing the Montreal Canadiens again, but this time they're playing in Quebec, Montreal, Canada. And then we have the Ottawa Senators playing the Buffalo Sabres in Ottawa. The Columbus Blue Jackets are at home against the Nashville Predators. The New York Islanders are at home against the Tampa Bay Lightning. The St. Louis Blues are at home against the Detroit Red Wings. The Utah Hockey Club is sitting nice at the Delta Center in Salt Lake City against the Calgary Flames. The Golden Knights of Las Vegas are playing the Edmonton Oilers at home. And then finally, to put us to bed, we have the Anaheim Ducks hosting the San Jose Sharks. Give me the under. Don't care who's in net. Don't love the odds on either of them. But as much as you don't want the under, I think it could go either way. So it should be an interesting game. Did want to run into the standings like we've been doing. So currently in the East, we still have, out of the Atlantic Division, we have the Toronto Maple Leafs, Tampa Bay Lightning, and the Florida Panthers. We have, out of the Metropolitan, Washington Capitals, Carolina Hurricanes, and the New Jersey Devils. The teams that look like they might be contending as of right now are the Ottawa Senators and the Montreal Canadiens. The next closest team would be the New York Rangers, as well as the Columbus Blue Jackets, and possibly even the Detroit Red Wings. It would pretty much just be the Canadiens getting knocked out because they're at 34 wins and 30 losses. The Rangers are at 35 wins and 32 losses. The Blue Jackets are at 33 and 30, and then the Red Wings are at 34 and 33. So naturally, same thing like basketball. This is the time of the year where if you get hot at the right time with the right folks, especially on the ice, you are definitely going to have a good shot at making these playoff wildcard games. In the Eastern Conference, we have two teams that have clinched, the Winnipeg Jets and the Dallas Stars, and the Colorado Avalanche out of the Central. And then out of the Pacific, we have the Vegas Golden Knights, the Los Angeles Kings, and the Edmonton Oilers. In the wild card spot, we have the Minnesota Wild at 41 wins and 28 losses. Right behind them, we have the St. Louis Blues with 40 wins, and 28 losses. This one looks like it's maybe a little bit more solidified than it is, just because the next closest teams are the Vancouver Canucks and the Calgary Flames, both with 34 wins. The Canucks have 27 losses and the Flames have 26 losses. They have already eliminated the Seattle Kraken, Nashville Predators, Chicago Blackhawks, and the San Jose Sharks. But I'll tell you what, anything can happen. And if it's anybody, I genuinely do think that the Canucks might make a push, depending on how strong they finish. Like, what are you talking about, bro? Like, of course, if they finish well, they're going to go into the playoffs and make the wild card. But the Blues are on a hot one. The Blues are on a 9-game winning streak. So if they stay mucho caliente, they could definitely make that wild card spot. So keep an eye out for that. The last update I wanted to talk about for hockey is the Ovechkin goal tracker. Ovi is now only 5 goals away from beating Waino's record. He's at 890. Waino's record's at 894. So 5 more to set a new record. I think I saw there's 9 more games. So, hail. To witness greatness, man. That'd be something. So, even if you don't want to watch the game, just tune in for his shifts, maybe. See if he does it. But if not, stay tuned. We'll be counting and trying to see if he beats the great one. That's all we got for hockey. You're out. If you didn't know, now you know. Baseball is back. Opening day was last Thursday. Crazy timelines already. And somebody's already pissing people off. As far as how things look this weekend, the Dodgers beat the Tigers 7-0. The Athletics beat the Mariners 4-2. The Yankees absolutely laid them down, took their belt, and beat the living crap out of the Brewers. It was 20-9. This is an MLB game. The Yankees hit 3 home runs the first 3 pitches. And then, to make it even better, it was Nestor Cortez. Shout out Nasty Nestor. But yeah, that game was brutal, man. Crazy. They had... Oh my god, Nestor's ERA is at 36. Incredible. That was a crazy one if you watched that one on Saturday. And then the Angels beat the White Sox 1-0. The Twins lost to the Cardinals 5-1. The Orioles beat the Blue Jays 9-5. The Phillies beat the Natties 11-6. The Rockies beat the Rays 2-1. The Pittsburgh Pirates have just not been able to get these wins, man. They lost to the Marlins 5-4. The Reds beat the Giants 3-2. The Royals beat the Guardians 4-3. The Rangers beat the Red Sox 4-3. The Astros beat the Mets 1-2. The Padres beat the Braves 1-0. And the Cubbies beat the Diamondbacks 4-3. Those games were on Saturday. For today, yesterday it was also baseball games. The way that those ended up, the Mariners beat the Athletics. The Seattle Mariners beat the, if you want to say Las Vegas Athletics now, or unless you want to say Sacramento Athletics, but I would not still keep calling them the Oakland Athletics. They lost 2-1, like I was saying. The Yankees are still rolling hot over the Brewers. They won 12-3. The Natties beat the Phillies 5-1. The Blue Jays got a win over the Orioles 3-1. The Rockies lost to the Rays 6-4. The Marlins beat the Pirates again 3-2. The Giants beat the Reds 6-3. The Angels beat the White Sox 3-2. The Guardians beat the Royals 6-2. The Cardinals beat the Twins 9-2. The Rangers beat the Red Sox 3-2. The Diamondbacks beat the Cubbies 10-6. And the Padres beat the Braves 5-0. Pretty solid introduction. I did also want to mention this barrel stuff with the Yankees. I don't know if you've seen. You can't blame them, bro. Nobody's done it. Nobody even tried to do it. There's no rule against it. I mean, after all of the new installed rules, and also new additions to the game, I mean, I think it's a pretty cool point to highlight that if we keep having games like this, it might be a little ridiculous, but I mean, hell, if we get eyes on baseball games again, that's never a bad thing. I will say it is a little too early to be doing this, bro. Like, we just started. You know how long we have? I mean, tune into baseball naturally if you can. It's a great watch. Games are going faster now than they ever have, so you don't have to sit down and watch like a 3-hour game, maybe even a 4-hour game of baseball if it goes extra innings some crazy times. But yeah, as far as for today, here's what games we have. The Cubbies are playing the A's in Sacramento. So if you want to go watch a major league game at a minor league ballpark, you get yourself to Sutter Health Park in Sacramento, California. I don't know what the price of ticket admission is, but I guarantee you it is at least 50% less than any other major league ballpark. Hell, even if you pay for travel to Sacramento, you'll be paying less for a Dodger ticket, maybe even a Yankee ticket, so why not? The Atlanta Braves are coming to LA to start that nice little, or not start, but see what happens. The Royals are currently beating the Brewers 10-3. The Red Sox are currently losing to the Orioles 4-3. The Rockies are currently beating the Phillies 1-0. Today, we have the Mets playing the Marlins in Miami. We have the Reds playing the Texas Rangers in Cincinnati. The Tampa Bay Rays are hosting the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Toronto Blue Jays are hosting the Washington Nationals. The St. Louis Cardinals are hosting the Anaheim Angels. The Houston Astros are hosting the San Francisco Giants. The San Diego Padres are hosting the Cleveland Guardians. The Seattle Mariners are hosting the Detroit Tigers. And a game has already concluded today. The White Sox beat the Twins 9-0. Oh my god, these early ERAs are crazy. My boy who got the loss, Paddock, he's at a 24.30 ERA. Can't help him. Some pretty solid pitching showdowns today. Quintrell's pitching against Peterson for the Mets Marlins. That one should be good. And then the other one I just saw is Tyler Anderson's pitching against Mikolas. That should definitely be a good one. But pretty much that's all we got. No standings for baseball just yet. I mean, I'd even wait another week before start mentioning a little bit more consistency, but people are starting off hot, and some people are not starting off hot, like the Brewers. But anyways, hope you have a great day, and maybe watch some baseball. Well, that's pretty much all we got for today's video. Just want to say thank you for watching, and hope you enjoyed. Naturally, covering a little bit more of the North American sports, but as soon as we get a nice little start back up of the Champions League, the CONCACAF Champions Cup should be starting back up here pretty soon. And then naturally, I also wanted to highlight that 19-year-old that beat Joker. Shout out to that stud who's freaking kicking butt on the tennis court. And then some other things. Have a great day. Other than that, I mean, yeah, that's all we got. Have a good one. Take it easy. Enjoy Cesar Chavez Day.